Welcome to The Catalyst, an exciting and insightful podcast produced by Northeast Iowa Community College. I'm your host, Amy Lasik. Together, we'll explore the people, programs, and partnerships that make Northeast Iowa Community College unique. From student success stories to behind-the-scenes info about athletics, innovation, and industry collaboration, each episode dives deeper into your community's college. Get ready for an inside look at the impact of community-driven education at NICC. Welcome back to The Catalyst, the show where we highlight the people and stories shaping NICC. Today's episode is a special one. We're talking baseball. For the very first time in college history, NICC has a baseball program, and we're starting this journey from the ground up. I am joined by Connor Klostermann, the first head coach of NICC Baseball. We're going to talk about his background, what it's like to build a program from scratch, and some of the exciting recruits joining the team, and the vision for where this program is headed. Coach, thanks for being here. I do have a little bio I want to share about you. Connor enters his first season as head coach at Northeast Iowa Community College in the inaugural season for the program. Klostermann spent the last 4 seasons with the Northern State Baseball program, the first 2 as graduate assistant, and most recently served as lead assistant coach, where he worked with hitters and led the recruiting effort. You also played baseball at DMACC, Des Moines Area Community College, and Upper Iowa University. So, Connor, thank you so much.
Yeah, Amy, thanks for having me on.
So we're super excited at NICC about all the expansion for our athletics and our baseball program as part of that. So tell us a little bit about yourself first. I want to get to know you, and sounds like baseball has been a big part of your history.
Yeah, baseball's been in my life pretty much ever since I can remember. And this job was very unique and for me because, this is home for me. I was pretty much born and raised in the Dubuque area and then moved over to Dyersville just before high school. And so, I've been in this area most of my life. And so when this job came available, it was one I was really excited about. And obviously to be the spearhead of starting a brand new program from scratch, there's a lot to be excited about with that. And so a little bit about me, you kind of chatted about some of my background from a coaching standpoint, but like I said, I'm from the area. I went to Beckman Catholic over in Dyersville and played 5 years of college baseball and have been coaching basically since I got into college. And so I'm super excited to see the trajectory of this program and where we're able to take off.
That's cool. So when you played baseball, what position were you playing?
I was a third baseman and pitcher in high school, and then I just kind of focused on hitting and defense in college. So I played primarily
Cool.
third base in college too. Yep.
Did you have a favorite team growing up or a favorite player?
Oh yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
kind of started with my grandpa. He was a huge Cardinals fan, and kind of passed that on to my dad, and then passed it on to my brother and I. And so we're big time Cardinals fans, and it's been a rough couple of years to be a Redbird fan, but had a lot of good years too. A couple World Series in my life that I've been able to witness, so that's been fun. And yeah, it's like I said, a tough time to be a Birds fan, but hopefully some brighter days on the horizon.
It is a great stadium, though, to go and watch a game. We were there just a couple years ago and seeing the arch in the background, and it's a great stadium.
Yeah, it is a great place to take in a ball game, that's for sure.
Well, can you talk a little bit about building a program from the ground up? Because I can imagine as you took this job, that might have been a little daunting, but also exciting too.
Yeah, I think there was some parts that, like you said, were a little daunting, but for me, having the experience at the college level for the last 5 years prior to getting this job, I knew what it's supposed to look like, and I knew the ins and outs and kind of where to begin. And obviously, the first part in that was recruiting and building the roster, and so pretty much hit the ground running as soon as Nick Weinmeister, our athletic director, gave me the go ahead to start making some calls, and so. It was pretty hot and heavy at the beginning with reaching out to prospective student athletes and trying to corral a list for recruits. And we hit the ground running with a lot of on-campus visits when I was able to get my family moved back here in early October last year. And we pretty much went gangbusters for the rest of the first semester. And so we put our roster in a really good spot numbers wise. And then obviously
Good.
all the background stuff that people, might not think about, equipment and, we didn't have a baseball to our name or helmets or, any of those things. And so working with our reps at BSN to order all of that stuff and make sure we weren't forgetting a single thing during that order. And so that was a big process as well. But obviously too, just trying as we get, student athletes on campus, trying to instill the culture and helping, our guys understand, what college
Right.
baseball is supposed to look like and how we
Mm-hmm.
want to present ourselves, not only internally, but also to members of the community and members at the college as well. And so I've been really pleased with our guys so far, just in terms of how they've attacked their daily routines and going to class and doing the things they need to do. So it's been a great
Yeah.
start for us.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of great things about the athletes that you've brought to campus and just what sort of energy they're bringing to campus. And you talked a little bit about it, but they're student athletes, and so there's been a lot of conversation about what's the priority. And your program has been very clear that they're students first, and that you're going to support that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've had great attendance in classes so far, and we've actually implemented for all of our sports, not just baseball, some study table hours on a weekly basis for our student athletes. And so we've had guys, signing in all week, whether it's in the library or in our Cougar Athletic Center, to make sure they're getting their studies done. And they might not have as much work now to do
Hmm.
with school just starting, but as we progress through the semester and they start, preparing for tests and other, assignments that they might have, those will be
Yeah,
crucial hours that we're trying to help them set aside, because obviously I think the biggest adjustment for student athletes or college students in general is just that time management piece, right? How do
oh,
you have
huge.
so much
Yeah.
free time on your hands now, and how do you
Hmm.
structure your day so that you're getting all the work done you need to? And so hopefully those study table hours for them help set aside, some time to make sure they're getting done what they need to. So we've been very fortunate to have a lot of great people in the building on all of our athletics teams. And like I said, it's been a great start for us.
That's great. So as you're going into this first year, how are you going to define success? Is it going to be wins or losses, or is there more to that?
I think for us, success will be defined on how we develop them as human beings, right? If we're,
Hmm.
helping propel them into the next step of their journey, whether it be transferring to a four-year school, whether it be entering the workforce, trying to prepare them as much as we are from a baseball standpoint for a real life perspective, right? And so, trying to instill that in our culture and trying to build, quality young men that will move into the workforce or whatever it might be, to be functional people in society. And so that's our biggest goal. I'm not too wrapped up in the wins losses piece. I think if we play the game the right way and take care of business, those things should take care of themselves. Um, but I'm just excited to have so many good people in the building that are going to help us progress and do what we need to do. So, like I said, can't say enough about the start we've had for sure.
Yeah, that's great. And what a story these kids are going to be able to have 20 years from now when they can say they were on the very first NICC baseball team.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we've talked a lot about that, obviously, talking to all of these student athletes during the recruiting process, but also when they got here. We have a little slogan for our baseball team, Cougar Pride. And so for
Love it.
us, like, the pride piece is probably the biggest part of our program. If you don't have pride putting on that uniform for the first time, if you're not just so excited to get out there every day and represent, be the first representatives of our baseball program for the college, that should naturally be part of what you bring to the table. And so that's been a big piece of what we talked about.
That's great. So as you were recruiting people, that whole process had to be really interesting, and telling the story about this is the first program at NICC for baseball. Do you have any interesting stories or recruiting tidbits that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was really selling the vision of what we wanted it to look like, because, rewind a year ago, a lot of the pieces we have in place today weren't here, right? With our
Hmm.
Cougar Athletic Center and some of the renovations over there, and just some of the processes and things that we've been able to put in place just weren't there a year ago. And so a lot of questions about, where we're going to practice and what facilities will we have and those different things, and trying to really sell, recruits and their families on that vision. And so it's been
Right.
awesome the last couple weeks to, as we've had some recruits on campus for next year, being able to walk into some of these spaces and kind of see the finished product and be able to really showcase, our amazing facilities and what we have. And so it's been a really great blessing to have such great, support systems around campus and to have such great facilities. But as far as stories go, I think a lot of people have turned heads a little bit or been shocked at how much outreach we've had. We're not just looking at students in district. It's been, quite frankly, all over the state of Iowa. We have
Mhm.
some Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota presence, and we even have a couple of international students on our baseball program. I know softball has a few as well. So I think that really brings just a change of pace to campus to have
Yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
students with a lot of different backgrounds, and our guys are just eating it up with some of our international students on trying to learn about their background and what things they do, and so that's been fun to kind of see over the last week and a half, all of our guys gelling together and starting to learn more about each other, and that's been a cool part of our start here.
Oh, that's so fun that they get a chance to just learn a little bit more outside of what they've been used to for the last 18 years of their life, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
That's cool. So, recruiting numbers, you have a pretty deep roster, is my understanding. You've been able to recruit quite a few folks. Do you have anything that you're super excited about with the folks that you've been able to bring here?
Yeah, our roster number right now is at 56.
That's
And
awesome.
quite honestly, yeah, that's probably a pretty average college roster size. And the reason for that is just the volume of games that we play. In the
Mm-hmm.
spring, we'll play 56 regular season games. And so you need a lot of
Wow.
pitching, you need a lot of depth. Obviously, injuries happen. And so you need some depth to make sure that you can navigate the rigors of such a long season. And so we have a lot of pitchers. I'm excited. We'll start scrimmaging, doing some inter squad scrimmages here on Thursday and Friday, to end the week. And so really excited to see the guys kind of in action. We've been doing more like drill work and practices and different things like that out at Farley. And so to see them, kind of compete a little bit and get together from that standpoint, that'll be huge for us from an evaluation standpoint. But yeah, we definitely have depth. I'm excited about our group. I think we've done. I've kind of educated the guys like, I think we need to go into it with a little bit of chip on our shoulder. I think some
Mm-hmm.
people don't have as high expectations for us as we do internally, and that's fine. But I think hopefully we can turn some heads and put together a product on the field that everybody can be really excited about. So again, I've been really really excited about the start we've had, and I think we're gonna turn some heads for sure. And so it's been a good start.
That's cool. And I'm sure too, as you're out meeting prospective recruits, you're looking beyond the arm or the hitting. What are some other qualities that you look for when you're talking to a kid about coming to NICC?
Yeah, I think, obviously on a 15-minute phone call, it can be, sometimes you can get a first impression, sometimes you don't. And sometimes those things happen when the families come on campus and you really start to have some more detailed conversations and really get to know some of the students on a more personal level during those
Hmm.
visits. And that's kind of a big piece for us. The nice thing for me is, like I mentioned earlier, being from this area, I have so many connections at the high school level with coaches and quite frankly, all over the country with different connections I've made, just in recruiting efforts at other colleges. And so,
Sure.
really helps to have some people in those corners to be able to get kind of an inside scoop on some of our athletes. And so we're really able to do a detailed briefing on making sure we're bringing in the right type of people. And I think that's what wins ultimately is you bring in the right type of person. Obviously, you got to have the right skill set from a baseball standpoint. But if we can bring in a lot of talented, really good people, we're gonna really excel as a baseball program. And so we really try to identify those people that are gonna help us really progress and move this program forward.
That's cool. And you also have some really talented coaches that are assisting you with this. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of your volunteer and assistant coaches?
Yeah, we have a great staff put together. Our lead assistant is Corey Harrell. Corey came actually with me from Northern State. He was one of our assistant coaches up there, and so I've known Corey for a lot of years now. He's also an admissions rep on our Piasta campus, and so he's doing a lot of visits with general students. He's handling all of our athlete visits as well, and so Corey's been doing an outstanding job with admissions, and he's also doing a great job from a baseball standpoint. And so he'll be a huge resource for us as we continue to build this program. Dalton Vanderloo is another assistant of ours. He was just hired within the last couple weeks. Dalton played for Corey and I up at Northern State for the last 2 years as well. And so kind of been unique to be very involved with the recruitment of Dalton as a student athlete and then getting him here as one of my assistant coaches. And so he'll kind of be in charge of the pitchers, and he's been doing a great job so far. He's a younger guy and very energetic and eager to get into the coaching profession. And so Dalton's been a great guy to have around the building for us. And then Jacob Kerman is our last assistant coach. He's kind of handles the strength and conditioning side. He owns Extreme Strength over in Dubuque, and so he's in the private sector of the strength and conditioning sector, and he's also obviously helping us with the strength and conditioning piece as well. And he's also the husband of our dance coach, Kylie Kerman. And so we got a lot of connections interwoven within the department already. But we have a great staff, and they've been very involved with every facet and literally could not do this without their help and support as we get into it. So they've been a great addition to our program.
Yeah, you have a great group. That's fantastic. They bring so much together, and it sounds like you've really gelled as a coaching staff too. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And it definitely helps to have some prior relationships and
Oh,
for us to
sure.
kind of know each other. And I've known, Jake Kerman I mean, we played together, against each other when we were 8 years old. So I've known him for
Oh,
a
wow.
long time. We played against each other in the semi-pro circuit here locally a lot. And so I've known Jake a long time. He's a great guy and he'll be a huge help for us.
That's cool. Well, and the other big piece of this is the community support of the program, whether it be NICC employees or folks in the community. What role do you see like fans and local supporters playing in energizing this team this first year?
Yeah, I think it'll be a huge piece for us, and I've heard from a lot of people in the community, not just in Piasta, but quite frankly, all of the towns in Dubuque County and even outside of it, just how excited people are about the addition of athletics to NICC. And I think that's kind of evidenced by our Field of Dreams game that we have coming up on October 10th, against University of Dubuque. We've had north of 600 people RSVP for that event saying that they're going to be there. And so we're expecting a pretty large crowd for that event, and it'll be huge to be able to mingle with some community supporters and just, kind of show them the type of baseball and the type of energy we're going to bring to the field. And so it's been a huge piece for us, and I'm excited to continue to build those relationships and get out in the community and just hear more about, how excited they are and things that we can do to continue to push that forward.
How excited are your players about playing on the Field of Dreams?
Yeah, I think there's a high level of excitement. I think
Yeah.
that'll be kind of our, culminating game of the fall, essentially. And so I know a lot of guys are looking forward to that. And obviously playing against somebody other than ourselves, I think is a big piece too, to go out and compete and kind of see what we're able to do. Obviously, University of Dubuque is a good program and they've been around for a long time. And so, to kind of see how we stack up and it'll be a competitive game and I'm excited to see what we can do. But yeah, the guys are thrilled to be in that venue and have an opportunity to play for sure.
Yeah, pretty cool. I have a 16-year-old at home and he had never seen the Field of Dreams, so I made him sit down and watch it.
There you
And
go.
so he's like, "Really? That's not too far from here?" I'm like, "No, we need to go."
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
So if we have a possible fan listening to the podcast and they're like, I want to go see a game or I want to learn more about the baseball team at NICC, is there a website or something they can go to see that?
Yep. So if you head to niccathletics.com, that will give you all of our schedules, all of our rosters. We have Luke Myers kind of handles, he's our sports information director. So Luke handles basically all things website and then social media. We're NICC underscore Cougars as well in each sport has their own X, formerly Twitter page as well. And so Luke does a great job of keeping those things up to date, constantly putting out content so you can kind of see the happenings of what's going on each individual program. And you can find all of that information and more on our website. So that's all available to you at niccathletics.com.
That's great. So looking ahead, where do you see NICC baseball in 5 years?
Yeah, I think that's been kind of the constant thought in my mind is obviously how do we start, but then what's the future hold, right? And so
Hmm.
for me, like I expect for us to be, a perennial contender in our conference and really winning a lot of baseball games because we have the resources and the facilities to be able to do that. And so continuing to build this thing and just trying to bring people in and show them what we're all about, and I think for some folks with us not having athletics, maybe our footprint has been a little bit different than
Right.
some other places. And so continuing to educate people on the amazing campus that we have, not only in Piasta, but Calmer as well. And those different things that people just need to get in front of and be educated on. And so there's a lot of great resources here to help our students have the most success as possible. And so that's my goal as we continue to progress, just continue to educate people in the community and outside the community on what a
Hmm.
great place NICC is and win a lot of games while we're doing it. And so that's hopefully the goal as we progress is just a program that people can be excited about and one that will put a really good product on the field.
That's going to be a fun ride, that's for sure. And I
No
think
doubt.
for baseball, out of any sport that I've ever watched my kids on or been a part of, um, baseball seems to have the most players and coaches that have superstitions for whatever reason. Did you ever have one growing up, or do you have any as a coach that you'll carry into this next season?
I can't say I really had one like particularly. I know there's a lot of guys that do. Some simple stuff like, if I went, 4 for 4, which didn't happen often, but if I had a really good game or things like that, maybe I'd wear the same pair of socks the next game or, something just to
Yeah,
keep the
I
mojo
socks
going.
socks
Yeah,
for some reason
yeah,
in
yeah.
baseball. That's
Yeah,
always
for
seems to be part
sure.
of it.
Yeah, so I know guys are, especially pitchers, like are very routine driven and oriented, and so
Yeah,
they're, the way they warm up, the way they get loose in the bullpen, those things, they're very, very structured. Position guys can be a little bit looser in some of those things, but pitchers are your guys you want to look for superstitions for sure.
that's hilarious. Great. Well, as the first coach of the program, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave when somebody looks back and says, "Oh yeah, that Connor coach, uh, he was the first coach." What do you hope they say about you?
Yeah, I think, for me, the biggest thing is just, looking at it as somebody who did it the right way. And that can mean a lot of things, but, having really good students that are here for that reason, right? To get your education and helping them move on. Our biggest goal obviously is that we have 100% graduation or guys are, moving into the next phase and fully prepared for whatever that is. And so, and then for us from a baseball standpoint, like, playing the game the right way, playing hard, always being ready to go, whatever the situation might present. And so, I'm still a young guy and early in my career. And so I haven't thought much about like what it'll look like beyond
Yeah.
that. And so hopefully, as we progress that, people really see us for that and play the game the right way. And we're good people in the community and we represent the college the way that we should. And so, as long as we're doing things the right way, hopefully my legacy will take care of itself from that
Yeah.
standpoint.
Well, you're certainly putting a great first imprint on the program, and just so excited about what this next year is going to look like. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Connor. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, if you're listening and you want to follow along and keep an eye on NICC's athletics page and social channels for the schedules, updates, and ways to support our student athletes, and definitely also you can sign up to RSVP. It's free, right, Connor, if they want to go to the Field of Dreams game on October
Yep.
10th?
Yep, that is free admission, and we will have a commemorative ticket that folks can pick up on the entrance. Obviously, no
Cool.
fee is required for that, but just a way to kind of commemorate the game and something to take home with you. So we will have those at the gate as well.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining us and giving us an inside look on what it takes to launch a brand new baseball team at NICC. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. And as always, go NICC. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Catalyst. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Want to learn more about NICC and the many ways we support our students, partners, and community? Visit nicc.edu for more resources and upcoming opportunities. This podcast is produced by Northeast Iowa Community College and hosted by Amy Lasik, with producer Tessa Hill, audio engineer Andrew Saunders, story editor Doug Ropa, and graphic designer Ashley Konzen.